there have been some that were critical of the policy and say that a situation like this may keep repeating itself unless there's a new policy in place. What's your opinion on that?
Well, unfortunately, there is just a 72-hour stray period for animals. Shelters across the nation are faced with overcrowding because of all the animals that come into our shelter as strays, so we can't keep them any longer. If animals do have ID on them, we keep them for a full 10 days. This situation is not unique. It happens half a dozen to a dozen times a year. Most of the time we can get the animals reunited with their previous owners. In this situation, we're very thankful that the adopter did make the decision to return the animal. We're pleased that it was reunited with the owner, and the adopter will continue to look for an animal for her family. We will be looking at our own contractual paperwork for adoptions, possibly going to some wording that the adoption fee is simply a deposit on the animal until it actually leaves the shelter. That way, if this circumstance happens again where the animal is still at the shelter, we'll have a little more teeth that we can keep the animal here. But up until that happening, once an adoption takes place, that's a binding contract, legally binding contract between the county and the adopter, so it becomes their personal property, and they have the right to keep it if they don't want to return it.
Did you have a chance to interact with the people that had adopted the dog, the adopted version?
I had not interacted with them until yesterday when I spoke with her.
And what were their feelings? What was their situation like?
Well, she had previously lost a dog and was mentally and emotionally devastated at that for a couple of days until the dog was returned to her. So she knew exactly how this particular individual felt. Because she didn't want him to go through those feelings, she decided to return the dog after speaking with him.
In terms of changing the policy so that it's a deposit rather than a legally binding contract, that would then allow, if this situation...
That would allow us to return an animal to its owner, previous owner, as long as the animal is still here at the shelter. Now, once an adoption is processed, whether it's a deposit or not, once the animal leaves the shelter, that will be finalized. The deposit will be changed to an actual adoption fee. Then it becomes their personal property. And once again, we can't demand them return it.
And what would the process be to get this policy changed?
It would be probably changing some of the Sacramento County Code language and also just our own adoption fee paperwork documents.
And so you're going to send that to us?
Yes, we'll be looking at that next week.
And how long should that whole process take?
I can't put a time limit on it. A few weeks at least for the actual paperwork to be changed.
I understand there were police out here. You received some threats here?
There's a lot of buzz on social media. You don't know what you can believe and what you can't believe. There was one particular post that said the shelter should be burned to the ground and re-killed. So, we take that pretty seriously. We lost an officer here to gunshot back in 2012. We don't want to have any more incidences like that. We want to protect our employees.
How long have officers been out?
Just since before we opened, like 12, 15 or so. Yeah.
In terms of this entire situation, obviously created quite a buzz on social media. What are your feelings about this entire...
I think the whole situation could have been minimalized in the first interactions with the previous dog owner when he came into the shelter. He was reportedly very emotional and highly charged, became angry. Those kind of things don't really turn out too well usually. I wasn't there when that happened, but I think more dialogue, more conversation could have taken place.
Is the implication then that if he hadn't been so argumentative, he might have gotten the dog back at that point?
That would have been up to the owner at that point, of the adopter. It was still in the owner's hands at that point, but we would have had a little bit more to go on. He didn't have any ID with him, didn't have any pictures of the animals that he showed us, so we didn't have any proof at that time that the dog was actually his. He says his ID was in the car and he didn't want to go get it, fearing that the dog would be whisked away while he was doing that. That would not have happened. We're not going to try to, take off with a dog just because someone's outside trying to get identification.
What are the takeaways now for...
It's very important. This whole thing could have been avoided had the dog been microchipped. If the dog had microchip or some external identification on it when it came in, we would not have treated it as a stray. We would have kept it 10 days instead of the 72 hours. And that gives owners plenty of time to come and redeem their animals. Not only that, but then we have an owner's information that we can make phone calls. We send letters in the mail. We do all kinds of things to find proper ownership to get them reunited.
Any plans for any additional training for employees as the situation starts to get a little more flexible in how you deal with this?
Yeah, we'll definitely have some meetings and some training on that aspect of it, sure.
Go to the river?
So excited. So excited, aren't we? Oh, look at, we got you, Rosie. Everyone's here for you.
Ready? Wait.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, you're the
Everyone
tall
get
one
in.
still in this. I always try to take
so
try to be other. Oh, wait, yeah. Oh, she's like, I want my dad.
What are you feeling right now?
So happy. As you can see, everyone here is so extremely excited. Rosemary's happy. We're all happy.
Does she look the same to you?
Yes. Yes, just the same. Harbor Breeze. Harbor Breeze.
Is she always this animated when you reunite? After we leave for 5 minutes,
Yeah,
it's
after
still
like
the
5
same.
minutes, a bit excited, but not like
Yeah,
this.
not 5 minutes.
This is because it's been a while, and she definitely knows she's been missing home.
Do you have the collar on it? Or do you have the collar on it?
Yes. Are you ready for your new collar? Rosemary.
Come on.
Rose.
You want me to hold her?
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yay.
So pretty. Good girl.
Thank you everyone so much. Everything everyone has done has meant so very much to me, and I'm just happy to have Rosemary back. I hope the shelter takes action so this doesn't ever have to happen to anyone ever again, and another adopted family isn't put in this same scenario. It was unfortunate for both of us, but I am so happy to have Rosemary back. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you.
Oh my God.